zoning amendment contemplates reducing that to what the regional planning commission requires us to have only.
And not thinking of it as the 5 or 6 municipalities that are, or
Well,
townships.
the regional planning commission structure allows for us to share uses. So if, and I believe Ms. Fisher was alluding to this earlier, if we weren't part of like a consortium like this, we would have to have more high and medium density housing because the boroughs wouldn't be picking up the
Right.
slack for that.
Yeah.
So, we enjoy that benefit of being able to have more preserved land
Right.
zoned to R80, but in order to really, practically gain from that, we have to reduce it to the minimum that we can have.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I was just wondering if there was excess, why it couldn't be applied, and not worry about that.
This is how we do that.
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Tammy Trey. I want to thank you for your efforts on this. It's a lot of work and a lot of years' work. Honestly, I agree with the gravel type 6 that maybe you guys should table this to the next meeting and talk to them first, and maybe see, what you can work out with them and not pass it tonight, for their sake, anyway.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My other question is, from going from R40 to R80, according in the comprehensive plan you guys have on there, it states that R80 and the guidelines R80 district require any subdivision development clusters so that 75% of tracts of 10 acres or more of the development tract can be reserved as common open space. The district does not reduce the density of permitted development, but instead reconfigures it and permits even denser development in some cases. In addition to the R80 district, all other residential districts are permitted to encourage clustering to reserve space. Maximum densities permitted for conventional and neighborhood developments are 1 dwelling per 2 acres. I'm in R40 now. My question to you guys is, I don't have 2 acres. As I don't know if there's anybody else in R40 that does, if they're below 2 acres. We don't meet those requirements for R80, according to this. So I guess my question is, how can you take us from R40 to R80 when we don't meet, it's non-conforming. It's a non-conforming lot to that. And if anybody wants to make any adjustments going from R40 to R80, whether it's adding a building, adding an in-law suite, adding whatever, what does everybody have to do to jump through hoops because we don't meet these requirements to have that done?
So I believe what you just read applies to a development project, what we would call a land development. So, well, like clustering, what I'm saying. So if you were building on a large plot in the R40, you could cluster the development together and preserve a certain amount of it. You wouldn't have to have equal size.
I understand that, but according to this, if I'm right, or am I not right, that it is,
Well,
sorry, Ralph. Is it not in R80 that it's a minimum of a 2-acre lot?
R80 is a minimum 2-acre lot, but for you in the R40, or really any of these, if you're talking about an individual project at your home, like building an in-law suite or a freestanding garage, that's not land development. The land development, the saldo, does not apply to that. You're looking to basically build something through the permitting process.
Okay. All right. So in other words, if I wanted to put another house or bungalow in there, I could.
Yeah, the only thing you'd have to look at is the requirements in the R80 zoning district to see how far from the property line it has to be, maybe how tall the structure can be. And again, anytime you have something that because of a hardship of the property layout, or maybe where your well or septic is located, you can always apply for relief through the zoning hearing board and, potentially work outside of those parameters.
Okay.
But be honest about that. That's not easy to do. A variance is not an easy thing to get. So
We
I
see them
have to
pretty
be fair
frequently.
about it.
Well, and to your point,
Right.
my house is like 15 feet off of Knifel Road.
So
My
you're
well
not
is
looking at
literally
what's required.
off of Knifel Road. So it's not like because it was the original farmhouse for that tract. Now, I'm landlocked in. I got neighbors on my left, I got two neighbors behind me, and I got neighbors, their houses are back, but their property's right there. So my land's not going anywhere. So even to make it R80, it's not going anywhere because it's landlocked.
Yeah.
You are not gonna you're not gonna knock my house down and put 4 units on there because it's impossible to do because there's no room. There's literally no room. So I guess, to your point,
Yeah, so people that are being affected by this change, who don't even fit the rules for what you're doing, I guess it seems like you're doing the same thing that happened before in some ways. You're saying this was zoned incorrectly, and that was a mistake, but it sounds like we're kind of doing that to some of us again by zoning it what doesn't really work, but just calling us non-conforming. But that means we don't fit, so we shouldn't be zoned that.
yeah, because that's the term, it's not
So maybe
conforming.
maybe don't do it the one.
Hold on. Non-conforming just means that, like, your home was likely built before a zoning ordinance existed in this township. So we're not going to require you to pick up your house and move it to the appropriate setbacks. It's non-conforming, and that's all that phrase means.
That's not what I have. Okay. And to use, what I have is zoning ordinances, non-conforming use is a use of land that does not comply with the present zoning regulations for the area.
Yeah.
Non-conforming uses are typically allowed to continue under certain conditions, but may be subject to certain restrictions or requirements.
Like a pre-existing non-conforming structure that was built 15 feet off Knifer Road before a zoning ordinance was enacted in the township.
It's dated 1880.
Exactly,
There's nothing,
yeah.
nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Okay, thank you.
You're zoned R40 now,
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
they
so my
want to push you to
R80.
Sir,
R80, which we don't fit in because we don't have a 2-acre lot. So 1.33 acres.
So as a follow-up to that, my name is Kim Kaufman.
I'm sorry, your name again?
Kim Kaufman.
Thank you.
I'm at 1912 Credible Pike in the little corner that is being downgraded from preserve or upgraded, whatever way, to R80 high density.
You're going from R40 to R80?
No,
No,
R80
No,
to
R80 to R40. So is it standard practice, like, I don't know how this normally works, but for you to like make decisions and then tell us? Like, why did we not have this meeting when you could hear our input of what you're doing with our property? Like, why is it now when you're like, oh, the county has approved it and they're so proud of us? First of all, why do we care about the county? I get that you answer to them and that makes sense, but their approval means nothing to me. My land means something to me, and I've invested in the land. And for you to make it high density, when the letter said that you have too much high density land, the math isn't mathing. So I feel like we're missing something. Who is buying the lot that is on right next to our property? Do you know that? Do you have, like, are they paying you money to make it, high density so that they can build something? I feel like you just keep saying we have to do this to meet the requirements, but you're also saying we have double the high density land that we need, so we're minimizing, we're like going to the minimum that we need, but also you're taking 8 of our land and making it high density. When these other people are like, well, we don't really mind if we're already medium density, and you're taking their land and making it preserved. So it doesn't make sense to us. And I would just like to hear your rationale for that. Because you're just saying, well, it fits in the big plan. Well, who made the big plan, and why did they decide that?
So this went through your planning commission, it was advertised, put out there for a meeting, they held a meeting, it came through a workshop meeting, all these are advertised. As a form of transparency, I started advertising these meetings via Facebook for the community. I asked the guy in the back here to go ahead and make this, for transparency, put a camera in a room 3 years ago. We didn't want to do that. I've been putting it out there. We put signs in your yards for a month. You guys could
I
have.
know, I saw
Did
that.
you receive the letter?
Did you-
Yes, and we got a letter, but it was basically like, come to the township meeting. It didn't say like, come to our office and let's have a discussion.
Okay,
It said, come to the
but I
township.
totally
meeting.
understand.
But then it didn't say, and we're gonna vote on this tonight, and it's already basically set in stone. And you have no say, you can voice disagreement, but it doesn't actually mean anything, which is how you're making it sound.
I never once told you your voice didn't matter. Of course it does. As I said, I'm listening to everybody right now. The planning commission's meeting was advertised a month in advance. Before it made it to the board of supervisors, it was advertised for a month in advance. Before it made it here today, it was advertised again
And
with
that's why
signs,
I'm here.
with signs in your yards, with letters out there. So you've had almost 4 months coming in.
I got the letter like a month ago.
I know, I understand that, but these, I've already talked to you once, just hang on. But this here made it through the planning commission, then it made it through a BOS workshop. All these are advertised, and this was on there, stated just like this, that these changes were out there. It's not that I hid this from you, I advertise this. I tell everybody, come into that building every first Wednesday of every month, every second Wednesday, you come in. I'm not trying to silence you. I'm the guy that repealed the ordinance that the last board put in and put you in jail for talking too much. I encourage this right here. This is how
I
we make
understand. I'm
progress
not
in
trying
this
to
town.
say that you are at fault morally
I didn't
or
ask you if I was
ethically.
being paid to do it.
Okay.
That didn't sound too good to me.
Okay, well, you can just say, no, I'm not being paid to do it.
Well, that should have went without.
Instead of saying, we.
I shouldn't have to say that. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm
your
sorry
voice
that you were
does matter.
insulted by that. I don't know you from an Adam. Like, you seem like a nice guy, and I do follow you on Facebook,
I know.
that's great. But I'm saying, do you understand that the math isn't mathing? That you're saying that you're cutting it in half,
We did.
but you're changing our land from preserve to something else?
I absolutely did. So you're tracking in general, how much land do you own?
2.5 acres.
You got 2.5 acres. Okay. The other land that's around you, the other gentleman was saying he's already preserved. Is that correct?
We're zoned for preservation. We are not like preserved land by any other means.
Ours are. Ours is open space. We had ours changed.
Okay, so they had theirs changed.
Okay. So I get that. And you're a 2-acre lot, right?
Right. I just don't get why you're moving other people to preserved land. And you're saying per crossing, like, was preserved and it shouldn't be, so then we haven't even,
So per
Like,
crossing
they're-
is a 330 home development. I have a 20-acre farm across the street, and
right?
they're zoned identical to me.
Right,
I
I know.
have 5 cows
So I'm
running
saying-
around, you can't run one over them.
What is their acreage?
What is their acreage?
Yeah,
Yeah, 40 acres.
so that's 40 acres more
I'm not sure what it is.
that you're gonna be zoning high density. So that's even more that you don't have to take from me. Like I'm saying, you were like, we have 800 and we're going out 400 and we're taking per crossing. Their 40 acres are also gonna be high density. That increases your overture, but you're still taking preserved land and making it high density, and I don't understand that switch.
Can I ask a clarifying question to the planning commission? When we do a fair share and we're divvying up the zoning, is our fair share based on actual housing units or is it based on acreage?
Acreage. It's based on acreage.
So we need to have the 800, 400 acres of
Zone.
R,
R.
so R40, and
Commercial and everything.
And the problem is that we've got a huge development with Perk Crossing that accounts for how many of those acres?
just so that
I
it's
don't
about
have the number
40.
right here with me. I mean, I have the map, but it would be.
It accounts for none, that's what I said, it was R80 and you're changing it to R40, so it will be in those numbers. When, if you change.
Yeah, it ends up getting out.
Correct.
That's what I'm
It will
saying,
be-
you take all the, you're saying if you take the new plan, you take all the, zones, the new plan does equate to the right number of acres for each
Yes.
amount that were required or expected based on the, Central Park Valley regional plan.
Correct. With these changes, it meets our fair share.
So you are changing to meet the minimum requirement for high density, which
Not just
is-
high density, it's basically our fair share is everything but RE.
Okay. So that's commendable, and obviously, like you're saying, that's what people want. They want it to be not developed.
But
I think the confusion comes in when there's land that's already R80 and it's going in the R's are pretty confusing for me, but, you know,
I
going from
understand what you're saying.
preserved
I do
to high
understand what you're
density.
saying.
Especially like, it's not even like an incremental jump. It's not like we're going from preserved to
Right.
low density, we're going to high density right away. And I understand you're assuming that people aren't going to sell and build or whatever, but it's a possibility if you zone it accordingly. So anyway, it seems confusing. But I guess I would say my voice is if you would consider possibly keeping the land that is currently under the preserved status as that and changing something that is already either mid or low density and allowing that to be, you know, changed to high density if that's what you need, because it's not changing it drastically like you are to that little plot of, 25 acres that is already preserved and would like to stay that way. So that's all. Thank you for your service and attention.
Just to clarify, the number of acres that they're talking about there in the gravel pipe 6 would need to go somewhere else then? Is that what I'm,
Yes, we would have to.
because
we would
it's
have
based
to
on
change-
acreage.
25 acres is gonna make or break it when we've been 100 acres over.
But if it does have to go for somewhere else, I'd rather you go.
So yeah, I do want to say this. I do apologize if I come across rather upset, but hopefully you can understand, right? So, one, you mentioned that all the other previous meetings were advertised. Wasn't advertised like this. I didn't get anything like this. This made sure I was here. So if it was that important, I don't have time to sit around on the internet all day. I got a job too, so I would have liked to have seen that, but that's in the past, right? We're here. I want to bring up something that Kimmy said, and I'm not going to say that you're taking money. I'm not going to say that. But we are curious about something. On the corner down there at 1946 gravel is a 2-acre lot that's up for sale. And most people who are around here probably recognize it when you come across the bridge, and there's that dilapidated garage sitting on top of the rock, sitting right over the curb. And down below, which you can't see, but I see perfectly from my bedroom window, is a dilapidated house that nobody's addressed either. So be it. I still moved in. I knew what I was going up against. Because I was figuring I was going to be here anyway to talk to you guys about cleaning it up. This has been that way for how long? 20 years. Okay. So when we talk about things such as the comp plan that's supposed to preserve this area and make it beautiful and everything else, we've let that property sit there. So now let me get back to that property. As of today, that property's been on the market for 197 days. When the realtor, and I want everybody to hear this, and this is why it's going to sound kind of strange that we're here. Back on August 31st, the realtor for that property posted on Perkiometry. She posted that property. I caught wind of it well after plenty of people in the area started making comments. I made the comment, answered somebody's question about the building on top. They thought it was the house. I said, no, that is a washed out garage that somebody converted into some living space. If you go there, there's drain tubes just popping out of the side of it and dump right into the ground. There's no septic. There's no water. There's no electricity. This lady hit me up on Facebook Messenger, and I got it right here, right in front of me, telling me that I am spreading lies about her property. And you guys are going to love this. Are you aware my client is a lawyer and you are sharing information in an attempt to interfere with the sale? An actionable offense is a legal term. She throws it at me. I said to her, I'm not doing anything of the sort. This is a free country. People can buy where they want. And that's where it was left, August 31st. And I'm wrapping this up, folks. I know you're tired. 2 weeks later, actually, 2 weeks later, on September 18th, unprovoked, this realtor hits me up again on Facebook Messenger and says, I'm spreading lies and I'm trying to block sales of people coming to see the property. She said that her client talked to me. I never spoke to her client. And her last words to me were, the legalities will be between you and my client. 22 days later, we received this letter. 19 days later after that, their property is now pending sale. After 197 days of not moving. So you can obviously see, I hope, that there seems to be more than just a coincidence. It seems like this is a spot zoning issue for that little tiny chunk up there.
Are you serious? I'll tell you right now, it's extremely insulting. As I sit here and I make $137 a month to work for you, you're going to sit here and try and say I'm on the tape, I did something.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying.
That's exactly what you're saying.
No, I did not say that at all, sir. I didn't say that at all. What I'm saying is that lawyer, is it possible that he petitioned this to get this, the wheels?
I read this exactly right.
Yeah.
I read this exactly right. I'm insulted by your accusation.
You can be insulted. It's a free country, but I didn't mean to insult you.
But that's exactly what you accomplished.
Well, you're insulting me by saying that that's an R40 land when it's clearly R80.
You can't build on it, dude.
I know.
Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can build up top. You can. You want to let it go? You were saying you were insulted, so I just thought you were done.
No, I just wanted to ask you a question is, you're talking about this property with the,
Dilapidated thing.
yeah, it's not a house, it's a garage, there's a house down here. Have you ever filled out a complaint form on the website, sent it up?
Oh, I said I was getting to that. I've only been here for 2 years. I bought the property,